Hello, Mr. Hornby83, and this is the Mr. Hornby83 show. And before I get started, there has been a change of plans for this video because, for whatever reason, IGN does not put up Sony's press conference. So I don't know what's going on with that. IGN is usually the place where I watch the press conferences since there's no more G4. Since Game Trailers is essentially dead and they don't do nothing. So, instead, since I watched it earlier, I decided to do a review of the 1994 King of the Ring. This is the one where Owen Hart became the King of the Ring. This is also where Bret Hart defended the WWF Championship against Diesel in a champion versus champion match, which I'll talk about that when I get to that match, but let's get into the pay-per-view. So, the 1994 King of the Ring. So it starts out with Razor Ramon taking on Bam Bam Bigelow, which Razor ends up winning the match and going on to be one of the final four. He didn't beat Bam Bam with the Razor's Edge. He beat him with like some kind of roll-up. For the win, Razor Ramon moved on. Next up was Owen Hart versus Tatanka, which match was pretty good, and Owen Hart ended up beating Tatanka. I believe it was just a normal roll-up, the same one that Bret Hart and British Bulldog did at the SummerSlam '92. When Bret Hart went for a rollover pin and then Bulldog just, hooked his legs and got the pin. Anyway, sorry about yawning in the middle of this. So then next up we had IRS against Mabel, and Mabel was a face at the time, so really, the heel was IRS. IRS got the win. He did hit his famous, I think it was called the typewriter, or tax deduction or some crap like that. He didn't pin Mabel with that. He ended up pinning Mabel with kind of a roll-up and then using the ropes to help keep Mabel down. So then we got the 1-2-3 Kid versus Jeff Jarrett. 1-2-3 Kid wins. And Jeff Jarrett goes ballistic, beats the crap out of the Kid at the end of the match, and that was pretty much it for that. But yeah, the first round matches were pretty good. They had to be pretty fast paced with it because they were like, well, the commentators was Jerry Lawler, which was Gorilla Monsoon, Macho Man Randy Savage, and I guess some special guest guy, I forgot his name. But they said the first round will be 15 minutes, then the second round will be 30, and then the final round will be an hour. So, all the matches were fast-paced and were pretty good, and really, I think King of the Ring 94 is probably an underrated pay-per-view. And King of the Ring is one of my favorite pay-per-views. I mean, every June since '93, I look forward to watching that year's King of the Ring until they got rid of it initially, 2002. They've tried little brief hiatuses to bring it back, but nothing has worked thus far. But it's really lame that such a great pay-per-view like King of the Ring got canned. A lot of big moments happen at King of the Ring pay-per-views as well, like when Mankind got tossed off the cell and everything. Alright, so at the end of the first round, which ended up being a shocker, it was a WWF title match. Now, we'd already seen promos from Bret and Diesel in between the King of the Ring matches, and actually they might have cut promos before the match, I don't know. Tom Pettengill was interviewing them, but anyway, they got interviewed. Diesel's talking about how he's going to have both belts, the WWF and the Intercontinental Championship, because this was at the time Diesel. Now, Diesel will not become WWF champion until later on in the year, which went through pretty much a whole year run, and that was pretty much it. But anyway, so we get the match. Shawn Michaels was in the corner of Bret Hart, and then Jim the Anvil Neidhart was in the corner of Bret. Now, this match was a good match, except for the ending, because the ending ended in disqualification, but it kind of set up things for later on in the night, and it pretty much set the stage for what was coming at SummerSlam '94. So, Shawn Michaels interfered extensively in the match. Then there was a point where Bret Hart got the upper hand, and at first because the ref was checking on Bret, and Jim Neidhart looked like he was going to attack Diesel, but then he decided not to. He turned his back. Diesel attacks him, so after that, Diesel hits a jackknife. Jim the Anvil jumps in, ends up attacking Diesel, and gets Bret Hart disqualified. So after that, he walks away and leaves as Shawn Michaels and Diesel's just brutalizing Bret Hart. And everybody's like, well, why didn't he stick around to help Bret Hart? Because, he got brutalized, beat down, and all that stuff, and etc., etc., etc. So, afterwards, Bret Hart's looking for the Anvil, but then we move on to the second round of the championship of the King of the Ring tournament, which pinned IRS against Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon won this. I think it was a short match. Razor beat IRS quickly, and now the whole purpose was just so Razor could get through IRS quickly and make it look like he went through 3 people. And then after that, we had Owen Hart against the 1-2-3 Kid, which, since the 1-2-3 Kid was still injured from the Jeff Jarrett attack earlier in the night, he ends up losing via sharpshooter. So that sets up Owen Hart versus Razor Ramon. And what was the sub-main event, which is kind of weird because the main event of the King of the Ring the year prior, the first one, was Bret Hart and Bam Bam Bigelow to see who would be the King of the Ring. But I guess they decided to change it because they had this Jerry Lawler and Rowdy Piper match that was going on as well. So, after that, we get a World Tag Team title match. Crush and Yokozuna taking on the Head Shrinkers, which is led to the ring by Captain Lou Albano and I think Alpha, or it might have been Sika, one of them. I don't know if Alpha's the father of Roman Reigns or Sika is, but one of them was out there with Lou Albano. But you had Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuji in the corner of Crush and Yokozuna. And what happened was, and honestly, back when I was watching the Attitude Era, because I really didn't watch too much WWF, like, after the Hulk Hogan stuff. I think the last thing I watched prior to that, before I got back into the WWF, was the '93 King of the Ring, and then I didn't watch for almost a year. It might have been almost, actually I think 2 or 3 years I did not watch WWF. So when I did get back into it, I went back, watched everything else, and seen what all was going on at the time. But when I was watching the Attitude Era, I thought, man, what would be a good dream match is if Rikishi versus Yokozuna. But guess what? We got that Rikishi-Yokozuna match anyway at this King of the Ring with, he wasn't Rikishi yet, but he was Fatu. And he was one of the Head Shrinkers. I don't remember what they said the other guy's name was, but Fatu was Rikishi. So there was a point where Yokozuna and Rikishi, aka Fatu, were in the ring against each other, and Crush. And Crush looked like he was going to get the win for his team, but Lex Luger came out, distracted him, which then ended up causing Yokozuna, eventually caused Yokozuna and Crush to lose to Fatu and his partner. And then afterwards, the Head Shrinkers and Lex Luger were ganging up on Crush. Yokozuna pulls him out, and after that, we get ready for the finals of the King of the Ring tournament, which was Owen Hart versus Razor Ramon. This match was alright for what it was. It didn't go that long, but toward the end, Razor goes for the Razor's Edge, but Owen flips him out of the ring and distracts the referee, and then down comes the Anvil. He attacks Jim the Anvil. He attacks Razor Ramon and puts him back in the ring so Owen Hart can win the match. And Owen Hart becomes the 1994 King of the Ring. So, pretty much the first King of the Ring was won by Bret Hart. And the second one was won by Owen Hart. So, the Hart family did a back-to-back sweep in the King of the Ring in 93 and 94. That's kind of funny to think about it. Which then led to SummerSlam with Owen and Bret for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Now, they went back to Bret, and Todd Pettengill was asking him, what do you think about this? He's like, right now I'm too upset to talk, blah, 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 blah. And pretty much, Owen Hart gets crowned. He's sitting there playing up the major heel role where he's talking about, you should now pronounce me as the King of Hearts, and he's sitting there telling, actually no, someone else was interviewing Bret, but Pettengill, that might have been Todd Pettengill, then he came out to do the coronation. They had Jack Tunney out there as well, but he's sitting there, he's telling Pettengill, kneel down at the king and blah blah blah, and then they went to put Tunney was going to put the robe, he's like, I don't want him putting it on it, I want Jim the Anvil too. So Anvil puts it on him, and pretty much it's it. I think they should have did something where Bret Hart came out and looked disgusted and mad that Owen and Neidhart did that to Razor Ramon because of Bret being because of Bret's integrity and all that, and then being mad that Neidhart essentially turned on him earlier in the night, which you didn't get to know until the end of the night. And honestly, I think the story that they built leading up to that was pretty good, though. Leading up to SummerSlam '94. Macho Man was talking about maybe this was Owen's plan, and maybe it was a way for Owen to win, so then Owen could get a shot at Bret for the title, and all that. And he saved the title so that it could be taken from Bret by Owen. So Macho Man had a pretty good theory, but everybody was kind of playing off like, I don't know about that. First he's like, what if the plan was for Anvil to save the title for Bret so that Owen could beat him? And they're like, do you think Anvil will be smart enough to do it? He's like, no, but the Rocket may be. So, yeah. So then after that, we get our main event, which is Roddy Piper versus Jerry King Lawler. I had no clue this match happened. I mean, honestly. I will say, though, even though I didn't watch consistently until, like, 96 again, I still, had tidbits I heard here and there, or I seen, like, superstar shows and all that. And I also had friends that were still watching that would tell me about stuff, too. But, anyway, after that, we get this Jerry Lawler, Roddy Piper match. It started with, Lawler taking cheap shots at Piper and Piper's pit, talking about Piper's movies, how bad they were. Had some kid come out dressed like Piper and was acting like Piper and was like sucking up to him, and apparently Lawler must have embarrassed him afterwards. I don't know. But, so Piper brings him out when Piper comes out, because you have Lawler come out. Then you have Piper come out, and pretty much, for the 2 years straight, the King of the Ring, Lawler pretty much, he pretty much ended King of the Ring. So Piper comes in. They say he hadn't wrestled for 2 years at that point, which I believe that was the case. He's still in pretty good shape. And honestly, if they were looking to build up somebody who was kind of jacked, Piper was jacked at the time. You could have built him up to be one of your faces of the company. But they went with Bret Hart. They stuck with Bret Hart. But anyway. So this match was probably one of the weakest matches on the show. I mean, Piper and Lawler, Piper ended up winning and beating Lawler with, I forgot what it was. It might have been like a sleeper or a roll-up or something. But pretty much, the match was probably one of the weakest matches on this show. Overall, I give King of the Ring 94 a 3 out of 5. The reason why I give it a 3 is because, yeah, the matches were kind of fast-paced in that, but at that same token, it didn't give the matches a chance to really breathe and, you know, develop into a bigger story than what it did. And Owen Hart winning the King of the Ring should have been kind of a bigger deal than what they kind of made it out to be. But one thing though, Undertaker was not on this show. And I think this was at the time when they had Undertaker missing. So Undertaker was still gone from what happened earlier in the year, the Royal Rumble. Which eventually leads to the fake Undertaker and then the real Undertaker match, which happens on the same SummerSlam show that the great match between Owen and Bret Hart happened in the cage. So yeah, pretty much though, it was still a good show. I mean, I enjoyed it, and like I said, I've been a big fan of the King of the Ring since it came out in '93, and I was really upset when they got rid of it. It might have been even, what was it? Might have been even 2000. Might have even been maybe later than that, maybe 2006 or so, but I still feel like King of the Ring should still be around to this day. It should be around like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. You know, you also got the Survivor Series still, but you know, if I had to sacrifice one, I'd sacrifice Survivor Series and frickin' keep King of the Ring, but that was just my preference. But overall, good pay-per-view. And I apologize, I couldn't give my thoughts on the Nintendo. I do know Nintendo announced a pretty good thing, but I'll talk about the Nintendo press conference and some things I missed at the Sony or the Microsoft press conference, because I missed a couple things from the Microsoft press conference that I didn't mention when I talked about it Monday. So on Facebook. And the reason why I waited till today to do the video is because I did 2 Facebook Lives. Not for my fan page, but for my normal Facebook page. I did those while I was at the gym, which I'm going back tomorrow too, because my sister Kristen's wedding's coming up, and I made it a point, I gotta outshine my stepbrother Andrew Harmon. But yeah. Tomorrow, I'm going to do how I would have casted Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I originally was going to do it earlier in the year, but I'm like, why don't I just wait till Mortal Kombat month for it? So, I'm going to give a how I would have casted Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I'll talk about some things I would have changed and some things I would have kept in as well, but, you know. But, till tomorrow, catch you guys later, and peace out.